Hey guys, it's Chris at Highline Guitars. In today's video, I'm going to start the initial sanding process on both the solid body and the hollow body guitars. Now this isn't all of the sanding. There's going to be a lot of sanding involved in this project. This is just the initial sanding phase, and that's going to be done with 80 grit sanding abrasives. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Okay guys, in the next sequence of video, you're going to see that I'm cutting the lower bout on the solid body guitar with my bandsaw. And I'm sure you're going to want to know, why am I doing that? I mean, after all, I cut the body, base, and the top on my CNC machine. What would be the reason for taking it to the bandsaw? Well, as I discovered, there was a mistake. And at first I thought it was my mistake. But as I'm about to explain, I discovered this is when sometimes the software doesn't perform the way it should or the way you expect it to. But what I noticed was the base of the body had a slightly different shape than the top. And I'm talking about the perimeter shape. They didn't match up quite. What I discovered was when I imported the SVG file into Easel Pro to cut the perimeter shape of the base of the body, that SVG file was distorted for some reason. I'm not sure why. All I can think of is that there's something wrong in the software, because this has never happened to me before. I've always been able to import SVG files into Easel Pro without any trouble whatsoever. But on this occasion, the shape was ever so slightly distorted, and I couldn't see that distortion on the screen. Now the top, on the other hand, I made a 3D model of it because it's a 3D contour carving. And that file was imported into Meshcam, and that's where I set up my tool paths and then exported the G-code. So we're talking about two different approaches, one for the top and then one for the base. But when I glued the top onto the base, I discovered that the shape of the base was different. It wasn't what it was supposed to be. And fortunately, I caught this with the solid body. That was before I started work on the top for the hollow body. And what I ended up doing was I had to go back in and examine the files that I used and make some changes so that they would all line up together perfectly. And it's pretty complicated what I did, but in a nutshell, I've always felt when you import an SVG file into a program like Easel Pro, you want to try to keep your vectors as simple and clean as possible. You don't want a lot of anchor points on the lines. It just makes for a bigger file, which can be tougher for the software to process. So I try to keep them simple. What I ended up having to do was I had to add a lot of anchor points in order to keep that shape from distorting when I moved it into Easel Pro. And that seemed to work okay, and I was able to 3D carve the top and the back for the hollow body so that they match up perfectly. But that's the reason why you're going to see me bandsawing a portion off the back of the solid body guitar. It's because that base didn't match the top. It doesn't really matter, it doesn't affect anything, but that's the reason for it. Hey guys, if you're enjoying this video, I would encourage you to click the thumbs up button down below. Do it right now. It's a great way to show my channel's support, and it doesn't cost you anything. But if you'd like to take your support to the next level, you can visit my eGuitar Plans web store or my Highland Guitars merch store. There's links in the description below. And any purchase you make there is going to help support this channel so that I can keep making guitar building videos and sharing my knowledge and experience with you. You can also click the thanks button down below and leave a tip in the amount that you think is fair. But if you want to get the most out of my channel, I would encourage you to click the join button down below and consider becoming a member. As a member, you're going to have access to videos just like the one you're watching, but with a lot more information and detail, and best of all, no ads. Now let's get back to the video. All right, guys, so the initial sanding process for both the solid body and the hollow body guitars is finished. And what that means is I can set these aside so that I can start working on the necks for both guitars. And that's probably going to happen in the next episode. So there's going to be a lot more sanding involved in this project, believe me, before I start to apply the finish, but that's going to happen in future episodes. At any rate, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If so, please consider giving it a thumbs up. That really helps the channel. And of course, if you want to take your support to the next level, you can do all the things I mentioned earlier in the video. At any rate, until the next episode, as always, take care, stay safe, and I hope you'll be back for more guitar building videos.